Hello everyone, welcome to Deaf News Studio. I am joined by Garreth, Don't Go Chasing Waterfalls, Gibson, and we are recommending a horror film each day of October. We are currently on the 26th of October. So Gib, what's your pick for the 26th?
My pick today is Joel Schumacher's The Lost Boys.
Yes.
Yeah. An absolute childhood favourite of mine. One of the first VHSs that we actually owned. We basically had 3 VHSs in our house that just went on a loop for years before we decided to actually buy some new ones. And it was Never Ending Story, Lethal Weapon, and The Lost Boys. And we just basically watched all 3 of those on loop. Lost Boys is just one of those... it's just one of those great films to watch. It's a great film to watch now, but for when you was a kid, it's just so enjoyable, and you just wanted to be one of the Frog Brothers or Corey Haim's character. It had like that 80s adventure kind of, a little bit of a Goonies kind of thing to it, or just with some fucking cool hair metal looking vampires, and it's I guess it's quite tame compared to a few other monster movies, vampire movies, but there's a couple of quite scary scenes in it. I think there was a few scenes that were meant to be a lot gorier and a lot more hard hitting that got cut, which I would like to see one day, but it doesn't take away from the film that we got. Again, I mean, everyone loves the soundtrack to it. It's great eclectic of just 80s tunes. You've got, Echo and the Bunnymen, NXS, we've got the always enjoyable Tim Capello, who was probably one of the best guests I've ever met at HorrorCon. He is an absolute blast to meet. He just loves being at conventions as well. You can tell he never gets bored of playing that song as well, and he's probably played it like 100 times.
I've never seen a man so lubed up playing a saxophone so well.
Yeah, and I mean, he was a pretty successful musician in his own right in the 80s. I think he was Tina Turner's of the saxophone. Like, he went on tour with Tina Turner, and pretty successful. I'm sure they probably hired him for his look. It's like such a strong look, isn't it? But that song, I fucking love that. I mean, I've never got bored of that song ever since I was a kid. It's just a great soundtrack. A very I think people think Kiefer Sutherland's in it a lot more and says a lot more lines than he does, but he doesn't. He probably only has maybe about sort of like a page of dialogue through the whole film, but he just gets to say a lot of the lines that everyone remembers. You've got a young Alex Winter in there as well. I just thought they were just the coolest looking set of baddies, and you just kind of. You probably wanted to be in that gang, really, didn't you?
I mean, there is that element of it. It's like you said before. It's like you either want to be the Frog Brothers, or you want to be in Santa Carla, or mainly. I don't know anyone who didn't think the actual Lost Boys weren't cool.
Yeah, it is. It's just to say, it's just such a cool looking film, and you can tell like Joel Schumacher really sort of like honed in on that part of it as well. I think it was more everyone needs to look cool, everything needs to look cool, then we'll do the story around that. I love all the Diane Weiss's characters. Those mums really
she's so lovable.
Yeah, she's always really I've always really liked her in films as well, so she's very lovable. She always plays she plays those characters quite a lot, doesn't she? I love the grandpa in it. The grandpa always, kind of steals it a little bit.
I was about to say he gets the best line in the film right at the very end. That's just the cherry on top.
Yeah, and the way it just ends, just closing the fridge,
and it just slowly fades out, and it's one of the most fun. It's a really funny line that's delivered so well. It's like,
but so blasé as well. Just There's only the one thing in Santa Carla I could never stomach. Just like it's the most normal thing. He's like, oh, the damn vampires. Which I think they sort of give him that look, don't they? Of like, well, why the fuck didn't you just say that originally?
But even when he's in the car, like, oh yeah, get that motor running, yeah. Okay, turn it off.
Like, yeah, and then he's like, yeah, I thought we were going to town. He's like, this is as close to town as I like to get. But yeah, and I love the Frog Brothers, and as I say, they're the kind of, everyone else kind of thinks they're a bit of a joke, but they think they do think they're like super serious American badasses, and like they've obviously like just sort of watched Rambo the week before, and they're like, and they sort of like, even in the performances as well, they're just being dead serious and not but actually are quite good at killing vampires as well. And apart from like once they start actually seeing some of the blood and that, they do shit themselves.
That's what I like. I mean, they portray themselves as elite vampire killers, but they are kids, the novices, and the way they do absolutely shit themselves is and
they kind of they sort of curdle up a little bit in the end once the vampire that gets thrown in the bath. But they again, like you say, they actually just turn into little kids, don't they? And you could harp on about every single scene. It's just so rewatchable as well.
It is. I mean, like yourself, mate. It was weirdly, it was a strong family film in my household. Like me and my sister were too young to watch it, but it was on anyway because it wasn't that gruesome. It wasn't adult. It was a bunch of kids during like a summer holiday and getting into shit with vampires. So it wasn't too bad to watch. But yeah, it was just.
It's a good 15, but it's not a hard R rating, is there, or anything like that? Like there's not a ton of swearing in it, and it's it's quite accessible, I think, to maybe non-horror fans, but probably quite enjoyable as well. Great performance from Jason Patric as well. He's not the normal type of film that he ended up being in, or was in even before that. I am a big fan of Joel Schumacher anyway, and there's a lot of his films. He just kind of doesn't really get talked about as much. I think he kind of gets remembered for Batman and Robin, when he should really be a bit more remembered for The Lost Boys and Tigerland and St. Elmo's Fire and Flatliners and A Time to Kill, Phone Booth. There's lists and lists of great films that he did.
I completely agree, mate. He's an extremely underrated filmmaker, and Lost Boys is, well, everybody knows Lost Boys. If you've not seen Lost Boys, then you're either too young for it now, or you've been kept in a basement by your Uncle Fritzl. It's
just for some silly reason never heard of it, but if you haven't seen it, highly recommend it.
It's a like we said many times on these videos, it's a classic for a reason.
Exactly, and it's an 80s time capsule, and that's not a bad thing. That's just I'm not a big thing. I don't think like movies should be afraid to date themselves or anything like that. Like, not every film should have to be timeless. I love watching films of 80s, 90s, or even 2000s, and films that remind me of that time. And I haven't got like a lot of memories of living in the 80s because I was very, very young. But watching it does always remind me of that sort of time in my life from watching it from a very young age. Maybe a bit younger than I should have been to watch it, but.
Yeah, I agree, mate. I mean,
unless they were banned, or if there was something that was really highlighted as a reason not to watch it, everything was kind of fair game in our household, really. So.
Yeah. Same way, I agree, and I also agree that films should be, in a way, time capsules to capture a certain moment of when they were made, or the era they're trying to highlight it.
And the same for another film that's on my list. It'll be coming soon. Same for that as well. A film shouldn't have. I mean, some films do have that timeless quality to them. But also as well, like I love the quality of something that's just dripping with that it's decade, and it's So and Lost Boys is a prime example of that.
Yeah, 100%. So my pick, Gib, we're sticking with vampires.
Yeah.
My one's a bit more current. It is 2008's Let the Right One In.
Nice. Yes. Oh, great film.
And the reason I like this film so much, Gib, is it gets under your skin in a way where after you watch it for the first time, you really can't stop thinking about it. It's like little details that you say to yourself, did I see that? Or is that my imagination?
There's a lot of so much subtlety in the storytelling and the filmmaking. So it definitely, it's not a film that I could like sit through a lot. Like it hasn't got like a massive rewatchable factor, but I have seen it maybe 4 or 5 times, and yeah, you do notice some little subtle, some little subtle like tidbits of you're like, oh god, yeah, I didn't notice that.
It hasn't got the rewatchability of The Lost Boys. It's a different creature entirely.
Yeah.
But yeah, the subtlety, like when it cuts to, I forget her name, but the girl, and she's got old makeup, like her makeup's done like so she looks older, but you see it for like a second or two.
Yeah,
so
I didn't notice that until the second time. I think the second time I watched it, I know that's the only time I noticed that, and it was just little subtle things like that, definitely.
And it's so grounded, well done. There are visual effects shots in it, but they don't take away, or the director doesn't focus on them, and it's very much this story. And another aspect I watched it again like a year or so ago, is that really there's no quote unquote good people in it. I mean, Oscar is you go into it, and because Oscar's the main character, you sympathize with him, because that's what you're programmed to do when you watch a film. You sympathize with the lead because you think he's going to be a sympathetic character, and that he gets bullied, so you're automatically go, oh no, he gets bullied, it's not his fault. But it's hinted at. You get little drops of Oscar's not going to grow up to be a good person. He's got serial killer written all over him.
Yeah, or he's kind of a little bit of a product of his environment as well, because he's not surrounded by anyone decent, to be honest. So yeah, that probably leads to, like you say, him going down a bit of a dark path.
And there is some absolutely gut-churning moments in this film. The guy with the acid.
Yes, yeah.
That was like, oh shit. I kind of felt a bit woozy off that, because the effects look so great, so real, and the story of that guy and the girl. When you really look into it, like, I've not read the novel or anything like that, but when you look into it in another view, and you're like, oh my god, he's a nonce.
Yeah, it's apparently it's touched upon quite a bit more in the book. It's dark, isn't it?
It's a really dark film, not an easy watch.
No, like I say, it's not something that I would rewatch a lot. But it is, if you've never seen it, highly recommend it.
I think it's a fantastic vampire film. It's completely different to anything that you've seen before.
Yeah. I do miss good vampire movies. I think we've had one for a very long time. I think the vampire movie needs to make a comeback.
The good vampire movie, that is.
Yeah, exactly. So Yeah, this is probably one of the very later ones that was really decent, to be honest. I don't know if 30 Days a Night came out after this or before this, but that one was good as well.
Yeah, I enjoyed 30 Days a Night. That was a different breed of vampire film.
Yeah.
But yeah, Let the Right One In is my pick for today. And
Fantastic.
like we said, if you've not seen it, I recommend you do so. But go in not expecting full-on entertainment.
Yeah, don't go in if you're feeling a bit having a bad day or not in the best of moods.
Yeah, if you're feeling a wee bit delicate.
Yeah. Probably not a good film to watch if you're in a bad headspace, but yeah, it's so well made. I don't know. I've never really followed the director if they've gone on to do anything else that I might have known, but
no, same actually. It's always been I've always just focused on the film itself, which in a way is a credit to the film itself that it demands all of your attention.
Yeah, no, I agree.